समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Phase 1 of the Bihar election is over and the state has seen a historic voter turnout. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made a claim of early victory basis this turnout figures, but Prashant Kishor, the new X factor in this election, has also made a big statement looking at this high turnout figure. Will Prashant Kishor live up to the media hype that we've seen around him in this campaign? Will he really be a game changer? Or will it remain a bipolar election with the advantage going to the NDA as Modi claims and to the opposition as claimed by the Mahagathbandhan? I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. On the program today, we'll be talking to national spokesperson of the Jan Suraaj and close associate of Prashant Kishor, Pavan Verma, also a former member of parliament, in a moment from now, as we try and get his take on the Bihar election. Claims and counterclaims are being made by different parties, including the Prime Minister. This after the record voter turnout that Bihar witnessed, the highest ever in phase 1, significantly higher, more than 6 points compared to phase 1 of Bihar elections in 2020. Modi, speaking at a public rally, said that this turnout could only mean good news for the NDA. Remember, the NDA has not declared a chief ministerial candidate and the Mahagathbandhan has. Then comes the question of Prashant Kishor. The hype around Prashant Kishor has been enormous. The media focus on him has been enormous. And as someone who has reported on his rallies from the ground, there has been genuine enthusiasm and curiosity for him, with young people in particular thronging to see him. But will he be a game changer or will he remain on the margins? Prashant Kishor, in his own words in an interview to us, said that Jan Suraaj ya arsh pe ya farsh pe. Either it will be a very, very significant outcome for Prashant Kishor or Prashant Kishor will be on the margins. This is his own estimation. To get a fresh perspective on where the Bihar election stands after phase 1, let me introduce our newsmaker on the program today. Let's bring him up now. Pavan Verma is with us. He's been a senior diplomat, a member of parliament, and is, of course, also senior leader of the Jan Suraaj, national spokesperson of the party. Someone who has literally been with Prashant Kishor by his side as Jan Suraaj was conceived of and built. Thank you so much, Pavan. Let me start by getting your broad perspective before we come to Prashant Kishor and Jan Suraaj. The turnout, does it tell a story? Does it not? Earlier, people used to look at high voter turnouts and say it indicated either a distinct pro-incumbency or an anti-incumbency. Now, pollsters are no longer that sure. How do you read the voter turnout?
Without a doubt, Barkha, such an unprecedentedly high voter turnout is a clear indication that people have waited and then voted enthusiastically for change, which is symbolized by Jan Suraaj and Prashant Kishor. Otherwise, in a, let us say, more or less predictable election where there was no overriding issue of importance to voters, there would be no need for such a high turnout. After all, the two earlier coalitions, the Mahagathbandhan and the so-called Mahan Gathbandhan, as I call it, between these two Gathbandhans, there's nothing new. Both are old wine in new bottles presented at the time of elections. Why then have people come out in such numbers, 10% higher than previous time? Because today there is a third alternative which offers meaningful change. Meaningful change By meaningful change, I mean change which can affect the lives of people significantly enough for them to feel that of 30 years of neglect, indifference, administrative failures, and betrayal of promises, there is perhaps a new ray of hope.
But isn't it interesting, Pavan, that the Prime Minister is reading the same data completely differently from you? You look at the 10 points or the 10 percentage points higher turnout from 2020 in phase one, and you say it clearly indicates people are looking for something new. And the new element in this election is only the Jan Suraaj. I agree with you on that latter claim. But Modi looks at these numbers and he says in a rally earlier today that this means an advantage for the NDA. He has interpreted the enthusiasm as a pro-incumbency vote. The other claim that the NDA is making is Nitish Kumar's scheme for women. And the claim is being made that just like we saw in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, the women are going to be the Y factor. I'm deliberately not saying the X factor. They're going to be the Y factor, and they are going to deliver this election for the NDA. What do you make of Modi's claim?
First of all, it is only to be expected that Prime Minister Modi, as the supreme leader of the NDA coalition, will interpret whatever turnout there may be to be a pro-incumbency. Naturally, he's fighting an election. Phase 2 is there. But realistically, when you view it, should there have been support for the NDA, there would have been a marginally higher turnout. Or voting patterns being roughly predictable, it would have been meant that the NDA has an edge. A 10% higher voter turnout without any prominent issue, which is the beacon light of the two established coalitions, can only indicate that voters have been waiting for this chance to exercise their franchise for what they believe is good for Bihar, and that Jan Suraaj has had an impact on the ground. Secondly, as far as women are concerned, women are a very important aspect of elections. But let me say to you that this argument that a higher turnout, even if it's slightly higher, means necessarily a vote for Nitish Kumar is highly debatable, because it's not as if women lack a cranium in the brain. Women are thinking voters. Women know that merely the sending of 10,000 rupees, which I call pure bribery 1 hour before the model code of conduct, is a revelry which is not going to change their life.
And you're calling it bribery. You're calling it bribery.
Plain and simple bribery, unethical, and should be taken cognizance of by the Election Commission, because it is an instrument that incumbent governments can, without any sense of financial responsibility, exercise in order to come back to power if they can, by any means possible, even if the tijori or the treasury is dry. And that is exactly what has happened in Bihar. So women voters should not be taken for granted that they cannot see through it. Secondly, I ask you, Barkha, if 1/3 of Bihar, roughly, even after 30 years of the rule of one or the other coalitions, is below the poverty line, and women constitute half of the 14 crore population of Bihar, are they not living in poverty? Let me ask you again. When women see that their sons, the moment they turn 16, are forced to migrate outwardly, palayan as it is now, the slogan almost, and they see them only once a year, do you think they don't suffer? Do you think that women actually believe that 10,000 rupees is sufficient to start a business and then they will be and that they believe that it will be followed by a fulfillment of promises which have been betrayed so steadily, so predictably, and so flagrantly in the past.
But with all your cynicism, with all your cynicism about this 10,000 rupee scheme, which you call pure bribery, do you believe that it can, or it has the power to swing the election or the vote?
No, marginally, perhaps, I don't know. But I do not want to insult the intelligence of women voters. They are part of society. They have suffered equally through the Jungle Raj and now 20 years of status quoism, of lack of development. Bihar, by the way, Barkha, has the lowest per capita income, the highest rate of unemployment. Almost 50% of the women are illiterate. The population, 1/3 and more, earns 200 rupees a day. Women want change as much as men. And please don't insult their ability to make wise choices by saying throw 10,000 rupees at them just before the vote, and their sense of discriminations, their conscience, their ability to make informed choices will be just bought away.
Okay, I want to come back. I want to come back to the turnout for just a moment. Modi has made his claim, but Prashant Kishor has also looked at these turnout numbers and made his own assessment. And I want to play out for you what he has said in Bihar today. Let's take a look. The high voter turnout now triggering a debate. This is what Prashant Kishor had to say earlier today.
30 सालों में नहीं, आज़ादी के बाद बिहार में हुए चुनाव में ये सबसे ज़्यादा वोटिंग परसेंटेज है। ये दो बातों को दिखाता है। पहला कि जो बात हम लोग पिछले कई महीनों से, बल्कि मैं 1-2 साल से कह रहा हूँ कि बिहार में 60% से ज़्यादा जनता बदलाव चाहती है, और पिछले 25-30 साल से जो राजनीतिक विकल्प के अभाव में एक तरह से धीरे धीरे राजनीति को लेकर, चुनाव को लेकर उदासीनता बन गई थी, विकल्प नहीं था लोगों के पास। अब जन सुराज के आने से उनको एक नया विकल्प मिला है, और बढ़ा हुआ जो वोटिंग परसेंटेज है वो दो बातों को दिखाता है। एक कि लोगों को एक नए विकल्प को देखकर उत्साह रहा है और बड़े पैमाने पर वोटिंग हुई है, बदलाव के लिए वोटिंग हुई है। और दूसरी बात, जो बड़े प्रवासी मजदूर हैं जो बहुत बड़ी संख्या में छठ के बाद रुके हुए हैं, उन्होंने अपना और अपने परिजनों का, अपने मित्रों का जो वोट कराया है, उसने सबको सरप्राइज किया है।
So Prashant Kishor is obviously reading the turnout as a sign of enthusiastic expression of hope. And, whenever there is big turnout, usually it can mean one of two things. People love the government they have, or they want to change. Now, the point is, you are arguing that Prashant Kishor is the face of the change. Tejashwi Yadav may argue he's the face of that change. Why do you believe that Jan Suraaj is the face of that change?
The freedom to argue or become a claimant to any title, I am the agent of change, I stand for development, is open to anybody, especially at the time of election. But tell me one thing, Barkha. What is it, do you think, that can convince voters in Bihar that Tejashwi Yadav stands for change? First of all, there are still very alive the memories of Jungle. Tejashwi Yadav is not Lalu Yadav. Lalu Yadav's initial appeal was that he stood for a certain rustic form of social justice, the empowerment of the poor. Tejashwi Yadav is merely a very privileged heir to a dynasty. He is not even past school. So when people look at or assess anybody's ability to actually live up to the claim that he or she is the agent of change, people see what reasons should we impose that faith on him. He has done nothing. All is, even in these elections, surprisingly enough, the kind of promises he has made. See, I keep repeating, don't insult the intelligence of the people of Bihar. You say, I'll give a job to every family. As per the last census, there were 2.97 crore families, 3 crore jobs. When the total strength of the bureaucracy from a chaprasi to the highest echelon is 25 or 26 lakhs. What kind of promise is that? Who believes in it? So he rides on the fact that he is a privileged heir, what do you call a parivarvard beneficiary. And secondly, he seems to believe that he has a captive vote bank, what was called MY, and which they now try to call Mahila Yuva, but it's Muslim Yadav essentially. That invoke the fear of the BJP to get the votes for the RJD, and the BJP does just the opposite, invoke the fear of the RJD to get the votes from the others. Now, someone had to come to short circuit this. Jan Suraaj has done that by talking of issues.
Can I ask you how you look at the role of Rahul Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi's vote chori, sort of big press conferences? Vote chori was a big mudda raised by Tejashwi and him in Bihar. Then there was anxiety over the SIR, the revision of roles. And this, in the past 2 days, Rahul Gandhi has shown images of a Brazilian model and claimed that her photo was found on 22 different voter IDs in the case of Bihar, I beg your pardon, in the case of Haryana. Now, my question to you is, A, how do you see Rahul Gandhi's role in this campaign? B, do you believe vote chori is an issue in this election? For the Jan Suraaj voters or for any voter?
No, first of all, the initial exercise as announced by the Election Commission for the SIR was, we believe, a flawed one. And we made our opinion clear. Yeah. For an electorate of almost 8 crore people to start a SIR exercise in June was, we believe, an inadequate step, although we were not against the cleansing of the rolls. We also said that not enough time has been given to people to make an appeal against deletion because of the telescope period. June and the elections are in October. Secondly, we said that the exclusion of basic documents like the Aadhaar card, the voter card, etc., is arbitrary and unfair, especially in a state where so many, the overwhelming majority is illiterate and far-flung, sometimes in inaccessible areas as a consequence of the floods. Now, the Supreme Court rectified much of that by adding the Aadhaar card. So we believe that the vote chori issue has lost much of its momentum, although all citizens need to remain vigilant against the possibility.
Why do you believe that happened? Rahul Gandhi was absent in the interim from the campaign for a few days, and then he's bounced back, but his vote chori is focused on Haryana and not the ongoing sort of election in Bihar. When you say the vote chori issue has lost momentum, why do you think that is?
In Bihar, it has, and the reason for it is fairly apparent. See, Rahul Gandhi is perhaps an intelligent person. He realized that in Bihar, in the 5 years between the last election in 2020 and now, the Congress has done nothing to strengthen its organizational presence on the ground. The party is in total disarray. It commands 5% of the popular vote, if that. Last time they got 70 seats and won 19, the lowest strike rate. This time they have still managed to muscle the RJD and get close to 60 seats. And I can almost say with some degree of certainty that they will win seats in single digits or perhaps just around 10 or there's somewhere there. Now, with such a presence and with no effort to strengthen the party, the Congress can play but a tokenistic or symbolic role. So Mr. Gandhi rides a motorcycle, does a road show with Tejashwi, jumps in a pond with some machuaras, and goes away. Because the Congress is not a significant factor in the elections.
But can I ask you, and I asked Prashant this in my podcast with him, and he said that he would not be supporting either alliance if either alliance needed Jan Suraaj to fill a gap in numbers. He was very categorical about that. But you know, realpolitik has way of catching up. Do you believe, given that this since then there has been this 10,000 rupees scheme for women, which you call bribery, if it comes, push comes to shove, and let's remember that RJD was the single largest party last time. If push comes to shove, would the Jan Swaraj have a preference on who it would throw its numbers behind, either the Mahagathbandhan or the NDA?
We have clearly said, Barkha, that we will not have a pre-poll alliance and a post-poll alliance. That is my brief.
Okay.
Prashant has reiterated it more than once because we believe Jan Suraaj as a third alternative with a different ideology and a different approach to how Bihar can change must stand on its own feet and retain its own identity. So our position is clear.
So does that mean specifically that you will choose to be, if you do not form the government, and I don't know if that's a claim you're still making, we'll come to that in my
Of
next
course we do.
question.
Of
Okay,
course we
hang
do.
on. Does that mean that if you do not form the government, you will remain in the opposition, neutral on either side of the political divide?
It all depends on the number of seats we get because if, as Prashant has himself said more than once, if we get very few seats, we would rather not even be in the opposition and just start the battle again. But if we get sufficient number of seats, and I'm still convinced after especially the voting in the first phase, that Jan Swaraj is heading for a majority. And as Prashant told you, that
Yes.
democratic history in India will be rewritten on the 14th of November. If that is the case, we don't need anybody's support or don't need to back anybody. Our position is no post-poll alliance, so Jan Suraaj remains and retains its identity on its own.
I want to ask you, in the Lok Sabha elections, when Annamalai, there was a lot of hype around Annamalai in Tamil Nadu. And when I asked Annamalai, I said, how would you measure your success? And he said, if I get 20% of the vote, I would consider it. Even if the vote doesn't convert into seats, I would consider it very significant. Eventually, whatever Annamalai hoped for in Tamil Nadu did not happen. My question to you is the same. What is the percentage of vote for Jan Suraaj as a party that was birthed 3 years ago? It's a new party, a new entrant. What is the vote share that you would look at and you would say, we've done very well, we need to build on this? This is assuming that, Prashant's very pithy phrase that he used with me and has since been oft quoted, ya arsh pe ya farsh pe. Let's assume that the arsh doesn't happen and the farsh happens. What would still be a satisfactory vote share for you?
Well, I can't predict the exact vote share in the event that we are not on the earth, which I hope we will be, but on the first.
Yes.
But let me give you an analogy. It took the BJP 20 years to reach a 10% vote support in Bihar. Even today, the BJP has only 20% of the vote. It has never had a chief minister of its own.
Yeah.
And here is a party whose entire history is of 3 years. So even if we are somewhere close to the first, our vote percentage achievement will be unprecedented for such a new party. And therefore, that in itself is a form of victory. Although, let me give you very quickly in 20 seconds the reasoning why we hope it will be much higher. Barkha, about 28% of Biharis have never voted for any of the two coalitions. We believe that if a third alternative was available as it is now, they will vote for it. And even if we hive out with the very minimum 10% of the vote support for the Mahagathbandhan or the NDA coalition, the number adds up to over 40%. So it's entirely plausible and doable. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying it is entirely plausible. And in my
What is
view,
the number?
actually,
What is the
as
number
silent-
that would? What is the number that would make you happy? What is the number
No,
that
no.
would make you happy in vote share? I'm not talking about the conversion to seats right now. I'm asking you, what is the percentage of vote share? As you've pointed out, 28% historically has never voted for either of these Gathbandhans.
and
Then, so-
10% more from each.
and
That's
10%.
48%.
So some change,
48%.
some
That's why
change.
I said, if it's 48%, we have 150 seats, like in the case of Andhra Pradesh, when nobody was prepared to put more than 100 rupees in a bet on Mr. Jagan Reddy as
Yeah.
against Chandrababu Naidu. He swept to an unprecedented 3/4 majority.
But can you realistically aspire to 48% when the BJP itself, as you said, has got half of that and not even? So my point is, realistically, Pavan, hand on heart, what is that vote share in real terms? Because politics is not arithmetic. Politics
No,
is not
first-
exact arithmetic, right? It's not that the 28% that has never voted for either coalition will all vote for you. It's not that 10% necessarily on either side will all vote for you. So realistically, what is that percentage of vote share that would make you happy?
But politics is also not astrology.
Fair, fair.
I mean, all I can say to you is that Jan Suraaj has arrived in Bihar. There can be no political discussion in Bihar now without the involvement of the Jan Suraaj. For a 3-year-old party to have reached that point, and for having flagged all the issues which the other two coalitions are now talking about. I'm sometimes amazed. I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. Rozgar, Palayan. The other day, the Prime Minister in his speech said, "Apne bachon ke bhavishya ke liye vote do." It's a line which is straight away plagiarized from the Jan Suraaj campaign. So
You're
we
accusing-
raise the
you're
right
saying-
issues. The
you're
other
saying
parties
Modi, you're saying Modi is lifting lines from PK. Prime Minister is
No.
lifting lines from Prashant Kishor.
No, I'm just saying it was there for you to see. You can replay the video. So it's other parties are echoing what our campaign promises or
A lot of questions have been raised, Pavan. I have to ask you, as you sound this optimistic note for Jan Suraaj, that when Prashant Kishor chose not to contest, there was this anticipation that he would go up against Tejashwi and Raghopur, that when he chose not to contest, that demoralized his base. It made people think that he didn't think he could win. How do you react to the speculation around why he didn't contest?
no. In my view, it was the best decision that could be taken in considering the imperatives of election strategy. Barkha, keep in mind that we are the only party which is fighting every seat, 243 seats.
Yeah.
Now, even the BJP is fighting 101, the JDU is fighting 101, and Tejashwi and RJD are fighting 143. The only party fighting all seats is the Jan Suraaj. Now, the choice was for Prashant to stand from one seat and to put 2 or 3 or 4 days there to win one seat, or use the limited time available to barnstorm the state to boost the chances of as many as 243 seats. What would you choose if you were in the place of Prashant?
No, I think it was the realistic sort of choice that he made. But I'm just wondering if it had the narrative, that float from it was one that suited the party. So both things can.
The narrative was deliberately misinterpreted by our political opponents. But since then, Prashant has been such a ubiquitous figure on the ground that any question of him running away from the elections has been completely belied. I mean, please see his campaign trail.
Yeah. I
He's
know
everywhere.
I've reported from his campaign trail, so I have seen it. Let me ask you in the end the big question. Prashant Kishor in the same interview with me, said that if Nitish Kumar gets more than 25 seats, Prashant would leave politics. However, that statement was made before this Mahila scheme. So I want to be fair and accurate about when he made that claim. I want to ask you, because the NDA has not declared a chief ministerial candidate, the Mahagathbandhan has. Do you believe, in your understanding of Bihar politics, you and Prashant have both worked in the past with Nitish, do you believe Nitish Kumar will be the next chief minister, or would you stick your neck out and say, irrespective of who wins, you believe Nitish Kumar will not be the next chief minister? How do you see it?
Barkha, it's common sense. In 2020, the BJP said that if we win, Nitish Kumar would be the chief minister. I ask you, why have they so persistently shied away from saying the same thing this time? It's very clear. The BJP as the senior partner. And please go back one step. It has become the senior partner by a planned conspiracy against Nitish Kumar, their own ally, through the use of Chirag Paswan in 2020, which hived off 38 seats from the JDU. Nitish Kumar doesn't forget, even in a state where he's supposed to be not as intellectually robust as he was when I worked with him. He doesn't forget. And it's very clear to JDU cadres and to him that the BJP, which is the principal party in the NDA, has no plans to make him chief minister again. Otherwise, by now, after being asked repeatedly, they would have said it. They haven't said it. So nobody in the JDU is a fool.
In which case, there's another question that springs from that question. Could Nitish Kumar change sides again? If he's not made, if he's not made the chief minister and the NDA is in position to form government, if it isn't a clear verdict one way or the other, and there could be a numbers ka khel. Nitish Kumar has changed sides more times than most of us can count. Could he do it again? If you're so convinced that the BJP doesn't want to make him chief minister, could he change sides again?
You see, not even God can predict. When Nitish ji, for whom I have personally great affection and at a personal level respect, I worked very closely with him. And he was very kind to me.
Yeah.
Nobody can predict what Nitish Kumar will do. So that is the question that looms large. And if he feels that, like 2020, the prospects of his party have been spiked, and if he still holds the same degree of hold on his top leadership, which I'm afraid may have been partially already co-opted by the BJP or on the cadres, what he may do is the question that even the Almighty may take some time to think about.
Well, on that tantalizing note of mystery, we leave this conversation. It leaves all kinds of possibilities, and that's what makes politics and reporting politics so delicious. Pavan Verma there, still believing that Jan Suraaj will be in a dominating position, but at the same time conceding that politics is the art of the possible, and particularly when it comes to Nitish Kumar, any finite and very specific predictions could turn wrong. So we leave it there, Pavan. Thank you and good luck for the next phase of elections. Thank you so much.
Barkha. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.